What's up, guys? Redemptive Rebecca.
Savage Cat.
We are here to talk about body dysmorphia. We both have personal experiences with body dysmorphia, so we wanted to discuss that with you guys. We thought this video would be super helpful for people going through just, I guess, body image issues, eating disorders, even just people going on fitness journeys. I know it's really difficult sometimes, just looking in the mirror and trying to look at progress. So we want to talk about first what body dysmorphia is. I guess put in simple terms, it's when you look in the mirror and what you see of yourself is not always what's there. So you may see like a warped perception of yourself. For example, if you are super focused on your thighs or your stomach, then you may see yourself as super exaggerated and huge in that area, when it's in reality not like that. Do you have anything to add on to that?
No, I mean that's pretty much what it is, and it's kind of important to understand that it can really impact you no matter what point you're at in your journey. So, you might have lost a bunch of weight and, never struggled with it until, you kind of start honing in on, gaining more muscle or like getting your body fat down to a certain percentage, or it might happen to you, in the beginning of your journey, in the middle of your journey. But it's a thing. So, don't forget about self-love. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to kind of move into talking about how it can develop, which, I mentioned a little bit before. And that's another thing that's kind of different for everybody. So, the reason that it happened to me is like probably not the same reason it happened to Rebecca. And it's probably not the same reason that it's happening to any of you who are watching this. So yeah, how did you notice it started with you?
I mean, I guess just having body image issues my entire life, I often compared myself to other people, especially my twin sister. I think a lot of people compared us, and I think that really took a toll on me because I thought I had to look a certain way to be beautiful. So when I looked in the mirror and I didn't look like that certain way, I was very self-critical on myself. So I really think it started developing when I always saw myself in a negative way, but when I really started losing weight and seeing changes in my body, it was hard to see myself as not overweight anymore. I was always super overweight, so even when I was anorexic and became underweight, I still saw myself as overweight because I don't know if it was just that I was used to that. It was my entire life, or just that I still compared myself to others and I thought I had to look a certain way. But I still wasn't happy with, and I also thought that, I guess, progressing meant not being happy with yourself. It's great to have aesthetic goals, like if you want to lose weight, or like even just gain muscle or whatever your goals are, but make another goal too, just to better yourself, to better your health. When did you first start seeing?
I remember, I dealt with anorexia a lot, as y'all know if you watched my last video, and it was at its worst when I was about 15 or 16 in the 10th grade. And I remember seeing pictures of myself from the 8th and 9th grade, and that was just always in my mind. Any picture that was taken of me, before I started weight training at all, and when I just had a lot of issues with binging and restricting and purging and that kind of a thing before I got more into like just restricting. So those pictures even now are just like very vivid in my mind, and so no matter how much my body changes, I always remember those angles, and I remember just looking at those pictures and remembering how I felt. Like, there were times where I felt like I might have looked good, like when the picture was being taken, you know, and there are other times where I remember feeling really, really bad. And so that's what I think of every time I look at those pictures, you know, or every time I happen. They're the worst when you're visiting your parents, you know, and they just have them up on the computer.
Yeah.
And so it's like a slideshow, and you're just like, why? You know? Okay. But so anyway, that's kind of when I noticed like my perception was super warped, because I was probably about 20 pounds less than I had been 2 years prior at that point, when, you know, my eating disorder peaked, because my body dysmorphia was just very extreme. So that's kind of also how it has impacted both of us.
Definitely.
So, I mean, we want to talk about some methods that we've found to be useful for recovering and kind of choosing body positivity instead, because it takes practice. You know, it's not something that, you know, it has such a huge impact on you and weighs so much on you, and so it's like digging yourself out of a hole, essentially, digging yourself out of neuropathways that you've built in your own brain to like train yourself to think a certain way. So
I like that.
Yeah, it's like to quote Elliot's mom, Elliot's my fiance, it's like climbing out of the Grand Canyon, you know, to try and form neuropathways, especially when you've had like years and years of a warped reality. So
yeah, that's why we always encourage you guys not to give up. Like, you will always have those good and bad days, and even though we both have come so far, we still talk about, you know, we still have our bad days. Like, sometimes we'll like still wake up and like, you know, we're like, we fucking suck. Like,
yeah, what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah, like,
we're bloated.
Yeah, and we were talking about how bad bloat was, and how like it'll just change our entire day, and how sometimes it's so silly to do that, but it like really, it messes us up mentally. And so we always will have our good and bad days, but it's something that you will learn to continue to put in your daily, I guess, habits. You wake up, and instead of looking in the mirror and checking how small your stomach is, you look in the mirror and say, wow, I look awesome today. Like, I'm an awesome person because of how much I positively impact the world, how healthy I am. So we're going to talk about next just kind of like how we started our recovery. It wasn't easy, and it's not like it was like we went from eating disorder mode and then next week we were fine. Like,
we're healed.
Yes. Like, man, like that one therapy session just did it in for me.
And those of you who follow us on social media know that.
Yes,
that
like,
it's, you know, progress is not linear. It's a lot of like, you know, this sort of deal here, and like maybe some of this sort of deal here. Maybe some of this sort of deal here.
We're not pushing any methods on you guys. We're just saying what personally helped us, because it really has opened up our minds to a different world. So, you want to start with that?
Sure. So I will start by saying, like, I don't want any of you to think that we don't still deal with these problems. Like, personally, I deal with it, like, every day. And it's especially bad, like, if I have a rest day, or, you know, if I eat too many carbs on a day where I know I didn't meet my protein goal, or, you know, whatever the case may be, like, anytime I just kind of, like, fuck up what I'm supposed to be doing. Anyway, I actually, a method that I've found, like, super useful for me first was weed. Some of you who follow me on social media know that I love to smoke weed. I'm not telling you to smoke weed though, so it's just what I do that helps me. But I started doing it regularly when I think I was a freshman in college, and I met friends who did that. And I just really found that it changed my perception of reality, and before I realized that it was changing my perception of reality for my body, it was changing it for like everything. So instead of being like super anxious all the time and like worrying about school and just like worrying about whatever, worrying about money, I was like, you know what? It's gonna be okay. Like, I'm doing pretty well. I was in school at the time, like, I had a job, I was healthy, I was exercising, and eating pretty well at that point, but still having a lot of problems with the way that I was seeing myself and seeing the world. And so kind of taking that up on a regular basis, total game changer for me. And then even when I moved out of my parents' house and I could do it more freely, which my parents are cool, by the way, at this point. They know. But just being able to use it on a regular basis just to kind of like help me just have a more mellow personality, because I'm super high strung and that is not my optimal functioning level, because it just leads me to being way too hard on myself no matter what. And the second thing I've found really useful, honestly, is Mallory King. I mean, some of y'all might follow her too and watch her videos, but she talked in one of them about how the decision to do that and forming the habit of body positivity is extremely difficult, and how she literally had to wake up every day and look at herself in the mirror and just say, I love myself, I love this, I love, just forcing the idea that she loved all the things that gave her the most trouble mentally. And so that's what I started doing. I have a couple of mirrors in my room, and I get up in the morning and sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you don't have any ab definition right now, and I say, okay, so you're further from your goals than you want to be. And it's really easy to want to start the day like that, but the more I get into the habit, the more I force myself, the more I wake up and see, like, I don't know, it's just it's just not negative anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, well, you're a little bloated, probably feel better after I drink a couple glasses of water and have some coffee and poop.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be fine. I'll be rocking and rolling. And like, it's really easy to wake up and feel bad and then say, well, I already feel bad, so I might as well just keep eating bad food or whatever. But, if you're like, it's okay, I feel this way now, it's not gonna last forever, and I'm just gonna treat myself like I love myself.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a game changer. I know I say that a lot, but it really does. Like, it makes all the difference in the world if you just change what you're thinking.
And it sounds simple, but it really is more complicated than, like, it really does out loud. Like, saying it out loud to yourself, at first you're like, what the fuck am I doing? And then the second or third time you're like, okay, and then you just keep going. And I'll go off of that too and say Mallory definitely helped me so much just with self-love and reminding me not to associate food and guilt together. I remember having this deep talk with her, and she told me that the minute she stopped associating guilt with food was when she really felt like free. Where she could go out and go a little overboard one night and have a little
That's
more
really
than
fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic sometimes. Like, sometimes you just want to. I learned that in intuitive eating too. That was definitely one of the tools that helped me, was reading the book Intuitive Eating. It add 10 different rules, but it kind of like played off of how all those diets have rules for you, but these are not actually rules, if that makes any sense. They're more of like listen to your body, go after those hunger cues. Like, are you really hungry, or are you like stressed? And then just don't be afraid of food, and don't associate guilt and food. And that's something I still struggle with on a day-to-day basis, is just not associating food and guilt together. But when I don't do that is when I feel happiest. Like, it is what it is, and if you overeat sometimes, or if you undereat sometimes, it's okay. Like, that's life, and your life will still move on, you know. And I've also found therapy to be a wonderful tool for me. I know you went to counseling as well, and it's been a game changer for me, because I realized feelings that I had no idea were there. I had constant anxiety. I think anxiety plays in a lot with body dysmorphia, just the overthinking maybe.
That's really what it is.
I really think
you're just
so.
overthinking.
Yeah. Overthinking and just seeing a different perception. And when I started going to therapy, I realized not all my feelings were actually anxiety. Some were anger, some were sadness, and I just didn't want to express it in anger, because I didn't want to show myself as angry, and like, because I thought that people wouldn't be as compassionate towards me if I was angry. They would be more compassionate towards me if I had an anxiety attack. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. But the minute I found out I was doing that, I was like, wow, like, I'm angry about a lot of things, and I just felt free after that. Like, most of it was just me being angry at myself for just numerous things about body image, and, you know, like, what I could be doing better, just being self-critical, and just learning to love myself took away self-critique and took away anger, which took away anxiety. And I felt like I could wake up and feel free, and this weight off my shoulders, like literal weight, like my traps weren't as tight anymore. It was amazing, and it made me realize how important self-care is, because it's one of the most vital things in life. So, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I've found really useful for like body positivity and recovery is understanding nutrition. So some of you might know I'm a vegetarian, which can make it really hard to hit my protein macros, because I'm also a very picky eater in terms of what I decide to put in my body. But understanding foods as protein, carbs, fat, essentially, and then the differences in quality and all of those things. So it's like just being able to understand what your body needs, and like look at a food and say like, oh, well, that classifies as this, and I know that that's not what I need right now, so I'm just not gonna have it. I'm gonna have something else, because I know that I'm gonna feel better, and I'm like, my body is going to do what it needs to do more naturally if I just eat what I know I'm supposed to eat.
That's a really good point.
You know?
Yeah,
and
I really like that.
There are other times too where like we were talking about earlier, you're just like, you know what? I know I could use 20 more grams of protein for the day, but I think I'm just gonna eat some donuts instead.
Yep.
And then it is what it is, and you do that, and you don't do it all the time. And you understand too, like, nutritionally what you've done, so you're like, it is what it is, I know. And if you feel a certain way the next day, you say, all right, well, I know I didn't hit my protein macros, I know I probably had too much fat, and I know I probably had too much carbs, so I want to feel better today, I'm not going to do that again. It's as easy as that.
And I like how Kat always says it's because she wants to feel better. Like, my body did not physically feel better when I didn't have enough protein and I went over too much on carbs and fat. I think macronutrients are a great way to just kind of know, like, okay, like, this is when my body will feel best. And although, like, it's great that it'll also, like, quote unquote aesthetically help you out, I guess, it'll definitely help your aesthetic goals, then it's in the end, when you focus about feeling better, your aesthetic goals will almost come faster.
They will, because if you're definitely going to feel better if you are eating, like, good whole foods all the time.
Definitely.
Which means that's what your body wants anyways. I mean, sometimes it really wants, like, fat and carbs, but if it really wants that, then let it have it.
Yeah.
It's...
Exactly.
It's just about kind of striking a balance, essentially. In conclusion, we just want to say a few things. First of all, love yourself, all right? If you're ever having any doubts, you're feeling really bad, really shitty, just know that the best decision is always to choose to love yourself. Always. Like, you're never going to regret that. And it like we said, it takes a while to turn your mind around, but it does wonders for your quality of life, believe us.
It really does. Just when you wake up in the morning, choose positivity always, and choose less self-criticism, because in the end, that's really what's going to help you with your goals. So even if you have those strong goals, then go after them with a loving aspect and stop being so hard on yourself.
Yeah, stop comparing yourself to other people. So that's like, rule 2. Don't do that. It's about you. Everybody is different, and you are the only you. So be the best you can be. Think about yourself. Think about your goals. Think about what your body needs to get you to where you want to be. Don't compare yourself to other people. So until next time, I'm Savage Cat.
And I'm Redemptive Rebecca.
Peace out, y'all. Take care.